Hi, it's aCraftyChick, and today is another 1st and 15th online class. Today is May 15th, and we are going to make something with the lighthouse stamp set. And this is what it looks like. It's called High Tide. And we are going to use this lighthouse. We're going to use this one for the sand in the bottom. We're going to use this stamp for the water. We are using the stamp for the birds. We're going to use the stamp for the sun and the stamp for the large pieces of grass. You're also going to need some DSP. Here's the card that we're going to make, and we are going to use the following colors. We're going to use Daffodil Delight ink, and we're going to use that for the sun. We are going to use, you can use either basic black or gray for the birds, or you can use Memento or Stays On, whichever one you want to use. We're not going to be coloring, so you don't have to worry about which one. The blends you use, the Memento you use for blends, and the Stays On you'll use for watercolor. And to help me remember that, I just put two little sticky notes on each one, because otherwise I would be looking it up every time I went to use them. So either one will work in this particular project, since we're not going to be doing any coloring. Next, we're going to be using Poppy Parade. The next color we're going to use is Poppy Parade. And I do not have a full size, so I'm going to use the one that I got in the paper pumpkin from last month or the month before. That was in Poppin' Birthday, so I believe that was March. Yeah, so if you have the March paper pumpkin kit, you'll have the Poppy Parade, and that we're using for this. Now for this particular one, I used Balmy Blue. However, I did a practice run on using another color. I used Mint Macaroon, only because of the background paper I'm using on this, and I think that's going to go better with the background paper. The DSP that I used is Tranquil Textures, item number 146331, and you can get a variety of different designs. So I chose one that I thought would go best. Now this actually would go best if I used Balmy Blue. This would really go good in the background, so we can put that one aside. I'm going to make quite a few of these. These are Father's Day cards, and I just think this is a really good background. And on the next few cards I do, I think I'm going to, I've hidden the card completely, make this background a little bit bigger, because it's, you know, it's very pretty paper, so we want to show it off. It's hard to see. There's only the standard 1/8 inch around, so I think we might make that a little bit smaller. I don't know. Or the card bigger. Either this part smaller or the card can be a little bigger. Anyway, so do you see how that goes much better with that paper than the blue? So then I've got this blue that would go much better with that one. So you see where I'm going with this? You can always mix and match colors, so you don't have to use exactly the same color as I do, because you know, sometimes you'll go to a place for vacation and the sea is blue, other times it looks green, other times it can look brown or black, so you can use a variety of colors to represent the water. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use the mint macaron, which I have made my own little block. I got the refills. Sometimes I do that. I get the little blocks and I make my own. So what I did is I purchased this and I made my own little block, because I also can use this in my spritzers. So these Stampin' Up! Spritzers, you can put alcohol or water in here, rubbing alcohol, not drinking alcohol. Drinking alcohol is for the crafter to ingest, and the rubbing alcohol is for this. So after a few nips of your drinking alcohol, you should be much more creative. I should try that. I have not done that yet. So anyway, this can go in here, and I have another video on how you can do that. And that's why I started getting these and these, because even though I really like the large ones, before I do anything and I want to try a color out, I'll get this, because this is only $3.75, and then on this one you get a pack of 9 for $5. So I think that's a pretty good bargain. And in another video, I'll have an example or a tutorial on how you can actually make these, make your own stamps using all the Stampin' Up! Products. So that's pretty cool. It'll save you money in the long run. I think initially buying this and these together, it almost comes out to the same price as this, maybe a few cents less. However, there are so many more uses for this, and then I'll show you some of those. So basically I have all of these, and I started to get more of these, so I made all of my own little square stamps using those, and I intend to fill this stinker up with more. So if you see me using these, I just took a magic marker, a black magic marker, and I just wrote on the back what it was. I am going to put little stickers on the top so I can tell as well, and I just keep them in this little container that I got from the dollar store. All right, now back to the project. It's a little diversion. The next color we're going to use is two different colors of brown. Yes, I made my own on these. Early Espresso and Sahara Sand. And we're going to put a little bit, if you can see, there's a darker edge at the bottom, just to give it some depth and more realistic, since nature is not always just one particular color. Okay, and then for the grass, I chose Mossy Meadow. This came in a paper pumpkin. And then for this little twine on the bottom, you don't have to do this. Mostly the reason I did it on this one is because once I put it together, I realized that the DSP didn't quite coordinate as well with this color I thought it would. So I threw this on just to tie it all together. I'm not sure if I'm going to put that on the next one. And I did not put a sentiment on this yet. I'm thinking I'm just going to put Happy Father's Day on the inside, because this is just too picturesque, and I just really did not want to gum it up with any sentiments or extra things. This is the Nature's Twine, item number 146342, and it's all bunched up from use. But basically, I just put this on a, actually I got this in the ribbon share from my upline, and so she actually set it up on this for me with the little tag, and so I just continued on doing the rest of mine that way. So this has multiple colors on it. I'm trying to remember if this is Fig or if this is Blackberry Bliss. I think it's Blackberry Bliss. And then this is the Sahara Sand? I think so. And that's Mint Macaroon, and that is Pineapple. Not pineapple. What is the orange one? It's the other fruit. It's grapefruit. I knew it was a fruit. Okay. If you want to use the string, I can show you how to do that in this project as well. It won't hurt one way or the other. If you have little other little embellishments you want to put on there, it's your card. You do what you want. So basically, those are the ink colors. Now for the paper, I used Night of Navy and Whisper White. And I told you on the DSP, I used the Tranquil Textures. That's it. So let's get started. Extra accessories that you're going to need. You're going to need blocks. You're going to need either the stamp blocks, like these, or you're going to need a Stamparatus, which I've already kind of set up the way I want to use it. And you're going to need, of course, your stamp set, all those stamps I pointed out. And you're going to need something to clean your stamps with. You can use either this chamois, or you can use this Stampin' Scrub, which this is great too. A lot of times I'll wipe it off with the chamois and then I'll just scrub it on here to dry it off and get the residue, whatever, if there's any left over. So I actually use both of these because I like my stamps to be very, very, very clean. So make sure you have all of your items. Some people use baby wipes to clean their stamps. Personally, I don't. Except when I use Versamark, but we're not going to be using Versamark today. But I keep them on hand because this is great to wipe my hands off so I don't get dirt all over the cards as I'm stamping. Be careful, make sure they are fragrance free, perfume free, that kind of thing, because not only because there's what do you call it, extra chemicals if there is perfumes and stuff, and that can harm your stamps even though it smells better. Okay, now I think we are ready to start. So you're going to take your Stamparatus, and you're going to, first you're going to get a Whisper White cardstock, and you're going to cut it into 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Okay, and you're going to place it on your Stamparatus. And if you want to use blocks, you can do that too. You can still follow along. But for this type of project, I love the Stamparatus. I've already pre-measured and pre-figured out where I have all my stamps going. And all I have to do is go boom, boom, boom. Right? So when I make it, I could make 20 of these, 30 of these cards today. No problem. Because I have the Stamparatus. I'm not going to make 20 or 30, but... so I already did this part on here, but you know what? We're going to do this again because you need to see that. So I can finish that up later. Let's make sure that I have the right size. Yes, I do. Okay. And what I did here is what I like to do. If you can see that, move it up. Hopefully it will adjust and not go blurry like sometimes it does. I have some little pencil notches there, and that's why I put this piece of paper down with some pencil notches, so every time I know I just have to put my paper right there, and I can use my stamps preset because I already know they're going to go exactly where I want them to. So let's get going. So first I'm going to work from the bottom up. Let's get the card in on here so you can see what it looks like. So we're going from the bottom up. So first we're going to do this sand, and we're going to use the Sahara sand. And we are going to cover the whole thing. And you want to do a light sprinkle. It doesn't have to be a lot, because then we're going to go over it again with the espresso in a certain spot. And then just press. The other reason that I like the Stamparatus, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, is because it provides me the ability to restamp anything that I don't think came out fully stamped. In this case, that's fine. I don't need it to be any darker. That's pretty dark anyway. And I am going to leave the Sahara sand on my Stamparatus. And this time I'm going to just put the espresso on the bottom edge like this. Sometimes I just go like that across where I want it to be. And we're going to press it so it's only going to be dark at the bottom. Do you see how that changed? It gives it a little bit of texture and real life feel. So let's clean off. Where's my cleaner? Here it is. Clean off my stamps so I don't get any ink on myself or anything else. Well, I already have this preset, so my water's on the other side. I'm just going to flip this over. My water is set to where I want it. Right there. I think I can bring it down just a little bit. Yep. So something did not come out right. Is that where I want it? Oh yeah, because I'm going to have that other piece over it, but that's okay. I'm going to re-fidget this. I don't like it there. I want it further down. There we go. See, then that's fine. It's always fixable with the Stamparatus. Oops. Where's my little doodad? This is always helpful. I use the pick tool to hold down the paper in case it does move. Just stick it between the pieces and hold it down. Mint, mint, mint. Okay, here's the mint macaroon, or whatever blue greenish color that you choose, that you want to use. And we are going to ink up the water. That should be good. and press. Now I'm actually going to use the stamp apparatus somewhat differently because I'm going to do it that way, using it also as a stamp tool. I don't feel like moving my stamp across the paper and then adhering it to the stamp apparatus, and I could have started this higher so then all I have to do is go boop boop boop, but I didn't. So now I'm just going to go a little bit overlapping right there. So I'm going to overlap a little bit, and I also want it to go off the paper. Did you see how I did that off the paper? So that's how we're going to do it. And I'm going to do another row. Same thing, and we're just going to do another row on top. So ink that up. And I'm cheating by doing it this way, but that's okay. All right, and ink it up and do it again. There is a better and more efficient way to do the water, which is what the stamp apparatus was originally created. So if you put your piece here, you put it down low or up high, you can just go down the rungs, but we'll play that game on another project. Okay, so now what we are going to do as well is see on this side here how we have water behind the sand. So I'm going to take a little bit of this, and let's see which end. I'm just going to do the end right here, about 1 inch or a 1/2 inch on here, and then just press it right against that. And it's okay if it gets some on the grass, because we're going to cover that up with something, and do the same thing on the other side. Just doing the edge of 1 inch or a 1/2 inch in on the water and pressing it so it kind of goes over the sand a little bit. Okay, and yeah, that'd be good. I don't want to go behind this. I didn't do it that way last time. All right, so let's clean off the stamps, and we can put those aside. Next, I've got my birds and my sun set up, and we're going to make it look like the birds are flying off the paper. Okay, you can move your magnets up to hold the paper in the middle, since we're not going to be doing that. So the way I have it set up is I have the paper edge between this and this bird. You can put all the birds on there. That's entirely up to you. This is just how I made it. And the sun will go right here in the corner. So for this particular thing, I'm actually going to ink up both of these at the same time. So I'm going to use my Memento to ink up the birds. And you can do this if you have a large block as well. If you don't feel comfortable, then by all means do it 2 separate ones. So I'm only going to ink up the 3 birds that I actually want showing up on the paper. So get this piece off. There we go. That way I don't have to mask. So if you can see, I just inked up those 3 birds, and then this last one I just left alone. It's a little bit stained from being inked in the past, but that's okay. Does not hurt anything. Ink stains, that's just how we get the coloring. Now I'm going to take this Daffodil Delight and ink up my sun. If I do it on the bottom corner, then I won't get any black ink in it, and just clean up around it, just in case. I don't want that to get on the paper. Usually it doesn't, but all right, now I'm going to place that here and press. Ta-da! Now I like the way the birds came out, but I think my corner of my sun was a little bit weird. It's not a perfect circle. That bothers me, and I don't like how it came out. So let me clean this off. There's something on here. There. Let's get that corner. There, now it's a perfect circle. And now, for the last but not least, I'm actually using a little block because I want more control as far as putting these leaves down. Grass, leaves, whatever. So I'm using the mossy meadow, and I'm leaving it on this. Now, even if you don't use the Stamparatus, I highly recommend that you use something spongy when using photopolymer stamps. You will get a much better imprint. And I'm just going to put them right here in the corner, like that. Now, also, I'm going to do another layer just because, so it looks like there's more than, let's see here, the difference. So I'm going to do another layer, and what I'm doing is, and I'm moving it up like a 1/4 inch, and I'm going right on top of it, just a 1/4 inch up. So it looks like there's grass growing on top of grass, and there's layers of grass instead of just one piece. And I think I might do a little bit more there. You see how that is? And then, just for the sake of comparison, I'm going to just show you okay, so this is what it would look like if we just did the one, and this is what it looks like when we hit it 2 or 3 times. It's much more dense, and it just gives more to the card. So you don't have to just use the stamps once. You could sit here and you could make grass go all the way across if you wanted to, and just, you could use this to fill up a card with grass, and then you could use light colors and dark colors and just make a ton of growth. See how easy and fast that just became something full and vibrant? Okay. So that is how we did that one. And now we have to do the main focal piece, and we are also going to do another one of these. And I'll show you why in a second. I'm still going to leave my paper on here just in case there's overflow of ink. But just get a scrap of paper. Doesn't matter. I shouldn't say paper. You want to use Whisper White cardstock. And I do have a piece that I cut too small earlier. that I put away as a scrap. So we're definitely going to want to use that. And let me do what I usually do to help you out. Okay, so this is the Whisper White, and it is 100730. And the other paper we're using, I did not give you the number on or anything, is the Night of Navy, and that is 100867. Okay? And I give you the info on the DSP. Of course, all that will be available on my blog, and you can use the link below that I provide, and you can print that out for free. That is yours. And as always, I try to provide as many free resources as I can. And there's also some tutorials and resources, kits for sale, PDFs, other things. So if you purchase a certain kit from me, then you'll also get the free online class, or vice versa, depending on how I set it up. So keep your eye out for those on my blog as well. All right, just because this is set up a certain way, I'm using a piece that's almost the same size, and I'm going to line it up with my bottom notch right here. If you're using the Stamparatus, if you're using the block, just go at it. And I'm going to do the same thing with the Sahara Sand. Now, if you're watching this and then later you're going to go back and make it, which I highly recommend, to watch videos first pretty much before taking it on, because a lot of times when you watch videos, and I've done this too, people create something and they say, oh, oopsie, I forgot this. And so if you've already glued something down and you're doing it along with them, then yours is an oopsie too. So we don't want to waste any products, right? Any of our good paper. So it's always good to watch. All right, this is the Sahara Sand. I just lightly inked over it. And I'm going to do the espresso again across the bottom. That's the only thing about these. I don't have a good sense of coordination. So they kind of in my hands. All right, and so I'll show you. I'm going to just skim this across the bottom a little bit, and it doesn't have to be exactly like mine if you don't want it to be. And see, even that one turned out just a little bit different than the other one, because nature is unique. And that's what I love about doing cards that include nature. I think I'm going to do a couple more because I am going to make some more of these cards. So let me just go ahead and pop some of these out. Oh, you know what? Let me show you something. Okay, this is what the Stamparatus is actually for. So what you do is you put this, let's put this at the top, okay? So I can actually show you the right way to use this. Use my tool to hold that paper down. Okay, let's go ahead and we're just going to do it in the Sahara Sand first, okay? I told you I keep dropping things. I get ink everywhere. Okay. So we're just going to do that with the Sahara Sand. And we're going to scooch it down. You see that I scooched it down? There's little notches, and it looks just like a notebook. Now I want to put a space there because I'm going to use them for separate ones. And let's see, yep. I'm going to scooch this up just a tad because I want it to be there. There we go. Now, I'm going to scooch that back down where it was. Now, all I have to do is get the early espresso and put it on the bottom a little bit. I might put a little bit up here, just, you know, just for effect. And then I'm going to scooch this up a bit so it matches. Usually you don't have to scooch it, but I just want some space between these. There you go. See, it's easy to match up. Oh no, this fell right on my card. Uh-oh. Okay. Look at what I did. We're just gonna pretend that's not there. See if I can redo this in a second. Okay. Wiping off. Alright, what are we going to use this for? We're going to fussy cut it. So, get out your magic scissors. And the easiest way is to pre-cut it a little bit so it's small enough to work with. You don't want to try to cut a ginormous piece of paper that's hard to control. And the trick to fussy cutting is moving the paper. And this does not have to be exact. Go across this way. Do not cut into that hole. And you'll see why. But you do want to kind of make it a little bit jaggedy. You don't have to do this part if you have trouble fussy cutting. There's a reason why I'm doing this, and I will show you. What I want to do is give this is what I did here to give it some more depth. So I made our sand a little bigger. If you don't want to do that, you can just double stamp your sand and not put the water all the way. You can stamp your sand all the way across and not put your water, but that's just how I wanted to do it. I want the water to surround the lighthouse as much as possible. I was actually thinking about putting water here so it would look like it's on an island, so you could do that too if you want to put water on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut a couple of these at the same time, then I will have them to use later. Just, it doesn't have to be exact science, because it is just dirt. And one more. And that one, there we go. So yeah, it'll look like that. See, none of these really look exactly the same, do they? And that's okay. So let me get another sample of card that does not have this smoochie on it. Since I have to make another one, I am going to show you something. I've been making a few, and so we're going to take this sand. I'm using this stamp to make the sand like we were, and go ahead and do the Sahara sand. Then, before stamping it, use some early espresso, just lightly. So I found that when I was using it separately, that the ink was showing unevenly, but when I did it with the Sahara sand, it blended a little bit better. Yeah, I like that better. It just may look the same to the person who's receiving the card, but it's a lot easier for you. Then here's another trick. So I pre-cut all my paper and I have it down, and I'm just going to take the next piece and stamp my stamp on the Stamparatus. Also realizing that if I keep the cover down, I don't have to fumble with it. I can just put it on. So I think I might put a couple up here. Let's just see how that looks. Like that. I'm learning. All right, then. Oh, that looks good too. Let me take this off. See, we have all these different ones, and they all look a little bit different, but they're all equally as good. Slight variation. See that when I put a little bit over there, no one's gonna know. It'll look good no matter what, because nature is imperfect. Okay, so let's move on to the next step of the card. So you're going to need a scrap of paper that is at least 1 inch by 3 inches, which is the size of this stamp. So any scrap of Whisper White that you have will do. And I am again using my Stamparatus. And this is where we're going to use the Poppy Parade. Leaving all my other things on there. I use this so much, I think I'm going to have to get some more plates. I love this tool. Love it, love it, love it. And I use it offline, and I haven't been using it as much in my videos until recently, because it was sitting nice and snug in its box on the shelf. Well, that's not doing anybody any good, is it? So we need to start using it. Poppy Parade. So generously get some on there. Now I stamped mine several times. Whoops, I need to also be careful. Just a word of caution. There are indents in this stamp. And I found that by getting some of the ink in the indent, I kind of got that little smudge. Like anyone's going to notice it, but I did. That little tiny bitty smudge. Because there are indents. So sometimes I tend to press really hard. So no need to press really hard. Just tap, tap, tap. Now, this stamp is set up so that it will have some spots in it. It's set that way on purpose, and so it's not supposed to look like perfect solid, even though that's how I like mine to look. It is supposed to look like there is some texture, like that. It can look like that. This one looks like it has a little bit more texture to it, and not quite as solid as this one, right? And that's even though I inked the heck out of it. It's kind of hard to see the difference, but right there you can see a little speckle. And now I'll show you what it looks like when you just put a little bit, and then you can decide how you want it to look. So we'll just put a little bit of ink. Everyone is different. Some people want things to be colored in. Some people want it to be just barely done. Let me move this over a bit. Everyone has different preferences. And so, yeah, this one has even more. Do you see all the white dots in there? That, if it comes out that way, and you like it that way, that's fine. That is how the stamp is made to come out. In order to get it this solid, I stamped it a lot. So let's stamp it a lot and see how many times it takes to get it that solid, because that's what I really do want. I prefer that. So I wanted to share that with you because I've had some questions where people thought the stamp was broken, or defective, I should say, because there were breaks in the ink and it wasn't solid. And you'll notice that a lot of the stamps that have a large flat surface do come out that way. Like the lemon lime twist stamps, the lemon and limes come out like that. It's supposed to, because it's supposed to come out looking textured. But I wanted this to be super, super solid. So that's 1, 2, 3. Now I can see some parts where it needs to be filled in, so I'm going to focus on those sections. Just do the fat pieces over here. Okay. Almost. And it will look dark and wet at first. If you give it time to dry, it'll look a little better. A little lighter, I mean, and drier. So that's how much you have to do to get it to look like that. Versus like that. Let's do this. Zoinks. Alright, maybe, do you see the difference now? This one I stamped about 5 times. This one I did once. So it is a personal preference on how you want it to look. That's all. And there is no wrong way. Only your way. And whatever way you decide is the right way. Isn't that cool? That's the great thing about crafting. However it comes out, it's correct. No one can dispute that. So here's where my wipes come into play. They really get a lot of that residue off. Not that you want to see my dirty hands, but I wash my hands before I ever start crafting anything. And then, of course, during the project creation, I get ink everywhere. I used to wear plastic gloves when I crafted. The only problem is then I couldn't, you know, on your fingers at least you can kind of feel where the ink is, but with the plastic gloves I couldn't, and so it was even worse. I was making more smudges on my paper than with my fingers. So, okay, that's better. I could just go to the kitchen and wash my hands, but I don't think you want to wait for me to go do that. All right. Oh, I forgot. Boopity boopity boop. We are going to want one of these. I chose this one. This is going to be my Father's Day card, and I'm just going to put Happy Father's Day in there on my own. I have some Happy Father's Day stamps, but I'm not jazzed about any of them because, well, with one exception, is this one from the Geared Up Garage, but I'm not sure how that's going to match this. You know, I guess it would. It doesn't matter. I could put that inside. I just don't like to make you use a bajillion different stamps. I try to use one stamp set per class, but if you do have that, you know, use it. Whatever you want to put inside or on the outside, it is your call. Now, if you notice lately, a lot of my classes, I have been posting my cards without sentiments. It doesn't say happy birthday or happy anniversary or anything else, and they're plain like this because I don't do that until I'm ready to use it. So my finished card will look like this in my box until I'm ready to use it. And I have quite a few. So this is my collection of generic cards. And then I have a couple of boxes, big square boxes that have indents that separate happy birthday, thinking of you, get well soon, and so forth. These are just the generic ones. And so it makes it a lot easier. All I have to do is look for, oops, yeah, these are my paper pumpkin cards that say thank you, happy birthday, so I have to put those in its slot. But these are just the latest paper pumpkin ones that I made. I'm a little bit behind. That is from a few months ago. This is from a few months back. I have a lot of paper pumpkin kits, and I save them for when I'm on the road or doing something, because I kind of get... let's go ahead and cut this out. That one I think is that good, or is that too much? That's too much. Yeah, I like this one. That's okay. But we're gonna fussy cut this. See if I can talk, chat, and cut at the same time. And there's a story behind that, chat and cut. So I was saying I like to use the paper pumpkins so that when I am on the road or just, you know, going to be away from home for the day, I kind of get withdrawals from crafting. And I'm like, oh, I'm sitting here in the waiting room at the doctor's office, or you know, I'm doing whatever, waiting. Like, I donate plasma, and you can get paid for doing that. Mostly, I did donate for years for free, but I did find a local place that you can get paid for doing it, so why not? Anyway, so you have to sit in this chair like a bed, and you cannot fall asleep. Their promotional video shows people sleeping and says you can't, but really you can't, because it's a health hazard, sort of. Like, they want to make sure you didn't pass out, so you can't close your eyes, which I found out because that's exactly what I did. So I can bring my paper pumpkin with me. Now, it's a little bit hard to do the inks and the stamping while I'm sitting there in the chair with one arm attached to a machine, but you know, I can do some things using my hand. The other thing I do sometimes is I just bring the brochure with me and a couple pieces of paper and my sketchbook, and I try to figure out what can I make with this. Or I bring my little Nook with me, or my pad or whatever, or my phone, and get on Pinterest and look at pictures for paper pumpkin. So I'm always doing something for crafting, but I like to make alternatives, so Pinterest is a really great place to go. So is the Paper Pumpkin has their own Facebook site, and they do a marvelous video showing alternative projects that people send to them. So you know what? If you're a Paper Pumpkin customer, you don't have to be a demonstrator. You can send your original creation to them. Just email Stamping Up, and you can ask them where to send it, because I'm not sure. I have never done it. And certain people do it every month, and some people do it once a month, and you can send them whatever you want. And they have a video on Facebook where they'll showcase all of the projects that people send them. So isn't that cool? They'll mention your name, and they'll show the project, and I don't know if you have to tell them how you made it or if you can just send it to them. You know what? I am going to find that out. And this is how I remember things, so I'm just going to put on here, call PP for info, and I will do a short video later. I'll also put it on my blog, what's involved with that, because the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm thinking, hey, I want to do that. All right. So this is where our little doodad comes into play. That one and your optional piece here. And the reason I want to do that is it gives it like a 3D. Now you don't have to. You can definitely do that, and it doesn't matter. So I dropped a piece. Sorry. So since we've already done it with this I'm just going to do this one like that, and we can compare the difference, okay? We need dimensionals. Sometimes I forget to mention adhesives in the beginning of the video because it's kind of a given in my mind, like, yeah, you're going to need something to stick things to. So I'm just using the edges of my dimensionals, the leftover pieces. This is what it looks like before you use it. Those are the mini. Oh, I'm almost out. Means I have to go into my stash. Here's one. This is left over from a paper pumpkin. These are actually bigger, but this is what it looks like. And where's my item number? 104430. These are awesome. I have tried other foam dots or whatever you want to call them, and these I love. And you know, because they're octagonal and instead of circles, they have little corners, you know, so it's so much easier to pick up. But they're not squares, so it's easier to tear them apart. This is genius. So when you're done with them, you have, like this one, the edges, leftover edges. I like to save those so I can use them for long pieces such as this that I want a lot of support behind. So because I don't want, I put a long piece here, see, and I'm pressing on it and it's not going in, there's no space. If I had just put like one here and one here and one here and pressed, it would bend and it could make a dent in here and break it or whatever. So I always put things together with the foresight of how is this going to hold up in the mail. So I have a long one under here too. I don't want any breaks. Now there's a little break right there, so we're going to fix that. I know that seems a little OCD, but I work hard on my creations and I want them to look exactly perfect the way they do when I put them in the envelope. I want them to look that way when the person gets them, because I worked hard, and so we're going to put that, oops, okay, you see that we made here, that was my redo, and I did, if you can tell, I did some more grass. Here's the one that I dumped the ink on, and you see I only did grass on one side, and I decided maybe do some grass on the other side as well. So I did a lot more grass. And like I said, there's so many different variations you could do. On my original, I only did a little bit of grass on one side. So I'm going to try it that way. And so that's what this space is on that one stamp. And you know, it took me a little while to figure that out. Really did, but that's exactly what that is. You can put that one there or the other one. Where is it? Or this one. Either one can go into that little notch. Whoops, you can't even see, sorry. See, that's what that notch is for. So you can place your lighthouse over it so it's on the gravel or sand or whatever that is. Cool, huh? Something else I didn't know. So I looked at this and I thought, so this I also didn't know what this was for, and I did some research and found out what that is. It is if you want to add these little pieces of light to the lighthouse. Which I didn't, because this is a daytime scene, but if you wanted to make a nighttime scene, you could use those, and that is the light coming out of the lighthouse, and then you would just cut that off there. Doesn't that look pretty? So that's another option, but I didn't go with that to this time around just because. Yeah, do you ever get those stamp sets and sometimes you look at them and you wonder, what is this? What's this? What is that for? Yeah. I do that all the time. And then I have to get online to figure out, what is that? Did someone use it, and what did they use it for? So we put our lighthouse on the card. The other option you have is you can get these foam adhesive strips that were originally made so you could do shaker cards, but it also is a single strip, so it provides you the same stability. So your items don't bend or smush on the card when they go through the mail. So we'll go ahead and use that on this one. And this tool is also great for peeling off that paper, especially if you don't have long nails. And this stuff is so super sticky. Keeps sticking to me. There. And then we're going to place this right over that space. Ta-da! There you go. And so this is the one with the extra cutout of sand, and this is the one without. In my opinion, I like the one with the extra sand because it looks a little bit layered, doesn't it? Yep. So we're going to go ahead and put that sand on. I'm just going to lift this up and find my sand. Put some dimensionals underneath it. And again, I'm using these that are extra on the side. So they're long and they connect. So there's no space between, so this doesn't fall in or get bent. And let's put some more support at the top a little bit. Okay. Now, one of the way I placed this is I simply I layered it. So let's see. Oops. Let me show you close. You can put it as high or as low as you want. I want to put it right there. Even though it's covering up some of my grass, I'm just going to put it a little bit. Let's see. Like that. And then this, which is acting silly because I tore it off, can go like that. That's not staying on very well. There, we'll get rid of that piece. There we go. So you can do it either way. This one, I cut the hole out. This one, I didn't. See how it's kind of puffy? So I just want to explain like this, why I do what I did, and how it looks if you try to do it different. And it's yours, so you can do it any way you want. I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece, which I usually do beforehand, but just to show you the difference. And now this actually looks like it's sitting on top of it. There we go. So that's how I came up with the idea of doing it that way. Next, we're going to take our paper, our designer series paper, which is cut at 5.5 by 4 1/4, and that's going to be our background for this piece. If you notice, I left this one a little bit wide than this one. And your other option is you can put the Night of Navy behind it and give yourself 2 layers. So if you do that, then you're going to cut the Night of Navy at 5 1/2 inches by 4 inches, and that gives you your triple layer. Or you can just do your single layer like that. So I'm going to go ahead and use some snail to adhere the Whisper White to the Night of Navy. And we're going to set it up so there's 1/8 of an inch frame all around it. And since I kept removing my lighthouse, my stuff isn't sticking. Let's go ahead and put some more on. And I will fix it to make it perfect later. Okay. Then we're going to take our Night of Navy and adhere it to our designer series paper. Whoops, wrong side. Again, leaving about 1/8 of an inch all around. Then you're going to take your large piece of Whisper White, the 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 piece. You're going to fold it in half. And that is your A2 card. And this is just a bone folder that you can get from Stampin' Up. Making sure your card is facing the right way, we're going to mount this on here. So go ahead and use your adhesive and put it on the card. Now there's not going to be any white behind it, so you can just line it up corner to corner. It is the same size. Or you can unfold it and line it up this way. And it should fit perfectly over the front of the card. And there you have it. Now we're going to use this right here to do the inside of the card. You can also use your Stamparatus to do the inside of the card as well. So let me clear off these stamps and I will show you how that works. Position your card. You can do it this way or this way. You don't want to do it this way because you're going to run out of room and it'll leave this hanging off the side and that'll be loose. So the part that you're actually stamping on, you want to make sure that is definitely held down, and it helps if you have the folded end on the edge. Then this is carefully held. You're going to place your stamp in the position where you want it, making sure that your stamp is facing the same direction as the front of your card so it's not upside down, which we have all done at one time or another. So place the stamp where you want it, close your lid, press, and there you go. And just stamp it up with the ink that you want. I am going to use the Poppy Parade. Since that is the color that where it sticks out on the front, I want that to carry over on the inside. The other option I was thinking about doing is the mint macaroon. You could do it in the brown, you could do any color you want, you could just do it in plain black. So if it doesn't come out the way I like it with the Stamparatus, I can do it again. But it did. Isn't that pretty? So it says you have the most amazing ability to make an ordinary moment and make it shine. I'm going to use that other stamp that we looked at a minute ago, the Father's Day stamp, and let's see how that looks. Since one of these is going to be Father's Day card, so they can all be. You don't even have to put Happy Father's Day inside. You could just sign your name and write Happy Father's Day. So again, we're going to put the stamp. I'm going to line up the edge of the card with the edge of the Stamparatus. Let me get all of these extra things out. This is a cling stamp, so I don't really need all this extra foam. The cling stamp has its own foam. You could leave that on, but you don't have to. And so I wanted to show you with a cling stamp. So you just line this up with the edge right here and hold it down with your magnets. Put it in the spot that you want on your card. Again, making sure it's facing the same way as your card front. Always double check. It's always the time I don't double check that ends up backwards, and you work so hard on that card, so you don't want to mess up the inside. And that's the reason I do the Stamparatus too. If I use a block on the inside to make the sentiment, and then I make a mistake, it's very upsetting. So we're going to use, what should we use? Let's use the mint macaroon. And we'll just ink it up and press. Swing it over and press. See, that didn't come out all the way, so I have a chance to do it again. And I want that to be a little bit darker, so we're just going to ink that up and do it again. There we go. So even though that's from a different stamp set, it sure did come out pretty, didn't it? So there is the lighthouse card. Now that's one with the string and without the string. And if you want to add the string, you can just wrap it around the first 3 layers before you adhere it to the card base. And tie it in a knot. Very, very simple. And before I go, I just wanted to show you some Father's Day cards that were made with this Geared Up Garage. We're not going to do a class on this because I've already done a couple, but I just want to show you. This is a really great set. It is in the Occasions catalog, which the Occasions catalog ends on May 31st. And so right now is a good time to get this, so you have time to make it for Father's Day. These are such cool cards. And these are also used, the Geared Up Garage DSP, and you get little pieces of hardware too. You get keys and a wrench. This one has a wrench. Isn't it cute? And there are pictures of all of these cards on my blog. Upside down, that's not going to help. So some of these have motorcycles, some of these have cars. And the motorcycle is not in the stamp set, but you can cut that out using the designer series paper. It's really easy to cut that out. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gives you some ideas for some Father's Day cards. Thanks so much for spending time with me. I will put links to everything below. All the information you need is posted on my blog. And I wish you a very happy crafting day. This is aCraftyChick saying goodbye and happy crafting.